Ladies and gentlemen, hello. Welcome. Boys and girls, children of all ages. Actually, this show's probably not for children, but uh, I want to welcome you back. Thank you for the support. Thank you for the views. And look at that. Look at this, dude. Look at us. 2 weeks in a row. Oh no, I think it's been like 2 weeks, but whatever. Uh, I'm like sort of in a funk today, a little bit. I'm like kind of spaced out a little, but that happens after I get a migraine. And it's been raining like crazy here. Well, not today, but the last couple of days, and especially yesterday. It's like nothing I've ever seen in a long time. It rained all day, and it was like, I mean, I can't remember in years how many years it's been since it's rained that much, and it was steady all day long, and at times it was absolutely pouring. And normally when that happens, you can pretty much guarantee, like Old Faithful, book it, I'm gonna get a migraine. And I've had them my whole life, uh, since I was a kid, and I can remember. I mean, I've learned to live with them. It's like kind of my cross to bear. But when I was younger, I didn't really know what brought them on per se, and I would be at school and see it wouldn't just like with the way that my migraines are, they're called ocular migraines. And if you're listening to this and you have those, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, you don't just get a headache like immediately. You see this like vision sort of. And I've tried to explain it and describe it to people my whole life. And it's like sort of like this like crescent moon shape, like way out here in my field of vision, like far away. And what happens is like it'll progressively over like 45 minutes, it'll get bigger in my like whatever and it's only in one eye. So here's the and I've learned this, like, I mean, of course I've talked to my doctors and stuff, and they'll get you to like kind of spoon feed you information or whatever, but I've had to like learn this about my migraines my whole life. So like I'll get the vision in one of my eyes, and it'll be in like that eye, right? And whatever eye the vision is in, the other okay. So basically like 45 minutes, the vision like progressively gets bigger, right? Until it'll be like here, and you'll see it, and it looks like kind of like a zebra shaped. There's like zebra. It's like flashing like zebra lights, like really frenetically fast in this crescent moon shaped thing, and it'll take up. I will lose vision in that eye. Kind of scary when you're younger. I can remember thinking, wow, is this going to last forever? The first couple times that I got it, like, am I going to lose my vision permanently? No. It eventually just kind of like moves out of your view. And then 45 minutes after that, I'll get a headache in the opposite side of my head. So like the vision's here in this eye, it'll hurt here and like behind my eye and like in my down my jaw and shit. If the vision's in that eye, it'll hurt over here. So it's like kind of it's wild, right? So and I've noticed that like over the years you kind of learn just the prevalence that I got them. You just kind of figure it out on your own, but um it's bad. The pain. The vision not so much. Like I've got it while I'm driving before, which is inconvenient because I'll have to pull over because it's pretty reckless to drive with one because you're essentially like blind in one eye. So I like pull over, wait 45 minutes, get back on the road. Um, I've and also I've got them where I don't have my medication on me. So like in my medication, I've learned to just kind of carry it with me my whole, like throughout my life, it would be like, oh, I didn't bring it to school today. Well, you're screwed. I mean, without the meds, it is torture. Like it's the pain is unbearable. And when I was younger, whenever I would get them, even with my medication, um, I would always puke, guaranteed, because of the pain. And also it kind of, like, it would hurt so much that it would cause you to be nauseous, but also your stomach would just kind of like, because of the nerves or because of just the way that it affects me in general, like my stomach always gets upset anyways. But when I was younger, I would have like them more frequently, I think. And my eye doctor would always say like, "Oh, you'll grow out of them." Well, fuck, I'm still waiting for that to happen. But to his credit, they have been less frequent. I don't get them as often. Um, but I think I can attribute them to like changes in weather, in a short period of time. So like if it's cold one day and the very next day it warms up by like 30 degrees, which does happen around this area quite a bit and it sucks, I'll get it for sure. I'll get one for sure. A lot of rain, like the barometric pressure changes, stuff like that will bring one on. But then I've also noticed, and he would tell me this too. He gave me like a list of foods that I should kind of steer away from, which is all the good shit. Caffeine, which I refuse to like give up. Maybe that's maybe that's still why I get them. Like red wine, I love red wine. Red meat, chocolate. I mean, this is all really good. But so I kind of temper that stuff throughout my life. Like I haven't like really gone overboard with those things. But when I do, I eat too much chocolate, guaranteed to get a migraine. There was a points in my life where I drank more red wine than anything else, and I would definitely see like a spike in migraines then. Um, but yeah, like if I didn't have my medication on me, it was just awful. And when I was younger, I used to have specific migraine medication. Um, and then on top of that, my doctor at the time gave me like 1,000 milligrams of Vicodin plus the uh migraine medication, which already, like, if you've ever had migraine meds, the side effects of it, some of them, like I've tried them all. The side effects of some of them are crazy. Like you feel like you're tripping. I can remember one. I don't I don't recall what the name of it is, but it would like make my taste buds on my tongue like feel like they were alive. And like moving, and like they would be like electrical. Oh man. Some of the it was worse than the actual migraine. So like the Vicodin would help, but nothing I've ever taken. But it would also make me kind of like a drooling idiot too. Like both of those things, because I would take them both at the same time. So you feel nuts because of the migraine medication that makes you spacey and weird, and then you're taking Vicodin on top of that, and I'm like 13. So I would go to when I was at school, and a lot of times, even if I did have my medication, because I didn't know how to really like cope with them then. I didn't really know how to treat them. I didn't know how to really get through it. So like when I was at school, my teachers knew. I'd be like, I'm having a migraine, and I would never abuse it. Like I would never be like, hey, I'm having a migraine, I need to go to the nurse. Like no, in my mind, I'm like, don't lie about it, because then you'll get one. Like karma will find you. So she doesn't forget. So like I would never fake it. I would say like, hey miss, whatever, I'm having a migraine. She'd be like, oh, okay, go to the nurse. So I would go to the nurse's station, and I would have my medicine. I would take it there, because you can just carry, like back then, I guess, pills with you around in school or whatever. So I don't know if she like had them there waiting for me. It was like a special case. I forget. Or my mom, because I would call. I would just be like, I'm gonna go home. So I would sit in the nurse's station, and she would like turn the lights off for me and shit. And I would sit, like they had a little cot or whatever there, and I would sit there and just kind of like lay down in the darkness, because that was back then. That was what they would tell you, like find a dark room, lay down, try not to move a lot. And then people would say like drink a Coke. Well, that has caffeine in it, like doesn't that defeat the purpose of like? But I've heard some people say like, oh yeah, drink a little caffeine and it helps. It's never helped me. It's brought on the shit. So how would that help? I don't know. So So I would lay down in the nurse's station and wait for my mom to get there, and then she would take me home, and I would just. But see what I figured out. This is probably the most important thing that I figured out since the inception of these migraines when I was like 7. Initially, I would always lay down. Lay down in the dark room helps, but I would always lay down flat, and the headache would always come. 2/3 of people don't get the pain after the vision, right? I can tell you without any doubt, I've had the pain every time. There's been 1 or 2 times ever that I've had the vision and then not had a headache. So I'm the fucked up 1/3 that has it every single time I have the vision. I'll have the headache 45 minutes later for the next 5 hours, maybe 5 or 6 hours. And then after that, it just saps you, and you're even the next day, like today, I'm like just kind of not there, and I'm just like kind of fatigued and like cross-eyed a little bit, and my stomach's kind of upset and shit, and which is like normal, I've just kind of learned to like deal with it. But when you're a kid, that shit freaks you out and you don't feel right for a day or two. And then the worst is like when you have 3 or 4 in a day. That sucks. You pray for death. And that's happened to me. Those are rare, but it's happened. Back to back really discourages you. You have the headache, you have the vision, you have the headache, and then 5 hours later you see another vision in a different eye, and you're like, buckle up. You're in it for the long haul, man. What'd you do to deserve this? And you get to thinking, what have I done? But anyways, so I would always lay down, and that was the mistake. That was the mistake. It would pound. And in my mind as a kid, I'm like, well, this is just the headache. No. You could have done that. And I would like try to get in all these different positions. And it would pound and pound and pound. And it would feel like someone was driving a nail into my head. And what I learned was that the blood just rushes to your head. So I don't know, it's been a number of years, but now in the dark room, obviously, and like just, it doesn't even need to be that really anymore. But if I stay upright and still watch a movie, sit at my desk and work, but stay calm. Don't, kind of overexert yourself or like really get into something where you're moving your eyes around a lot. It's not as bad. And as I grew older too, like I didn't puke every single time. It's been years and years since I've puked due to the pain, because I honestly think it's because I kind of learned how to manage with it, of just sitting still and being propped up. And I've actually got this chair. It's like a bed chair. It was one of the greatest gifts that anyone ever gave me. And it's like this like pillow, multiple pillows formed into a chair that actually like props up against the backboard of your bed, so you can sit in the bed chair. I don't know, maybe that's what it's called, but I always called it the bed chair. And you're sitting up, but you're in bed, so it's comfortable, but you're not laying down flat. Game changer. And there's little like pockets on the side of it to hold my spectacles and my phone. I sound like such an old man. But as a kid, like my mom would come and get me from school and always bring me home. If I didn't, like some days I would just be like throwing in the towel, like I can't do this, I'm going home. Other days I would toughen it out and be like, I can just sit through class with this thing. But I would go home and lay down. And I can remember one time though, I didn't have my medication with me at school, and my mom was out of town, maybe. She was somewhere to where she couldn't come and pick me up. So someone at the school like gave me a ride home. And I lived pretty close to my grade school. And I think I had either called her to let her know, or like someone from the school did, that I was home. And I like immediately went down to the basement, and we had these huge chairs down there, and I just kind of sunk into one of those and just turned every light out and made it completely pitch black. And if I could go to sleep, a lot of the time I would sleep right through it. And that was great, because then you wouldn't feel the pain. But More often than not, it would hurt so bad that it would wake me up. But on this occasion, like, I didn't have my medic. So if you get the medication in right away, the quicker you can get it in, the better, because you get it in front of it. You get in front of it, right? So I didn't get this in quick. The vision was practically gone before I got the pills in. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm screwed. It's gonna hurt so bad. It doesn't have enough time to get into your system. So, and I'm alone. So like I'm laying in the basement in the dark, and a couple hours pass, right? And I'm in the heat of this thing. 2 hours in, you're hurting. And I remember my eyes were closed, and it was real cool down there, and it was like the summer, so it was hot. Or it was, I don't know. Yeah, it was like, it was hot, so the basement felt like really good. And um I heard this voice, and it was like, "Hello?" And I was like, "What?" And this man was in my basement. And he's like, "Buddy?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he goes, "It's Mr. Bland." So it was my neighbor. And he came over to check on me, dude. He came over to check on me. Grade school Paul, dude. His name was Paul too. Nicest man, right? So I think my mom had called him and been like, "Can you go? I'm out of, until this thing till later. Can you go and check on him? He's at home with a migraine." So he came in the house. I could have shot him dead. He came downstairs and checked on me. And it was so nice. And that warmed my heart. And he was pretty funny about it. He's like, "It smells like puke down here." I said, "Well, I puked." And he goes, I'll never forget this. He goes, "Anya?" And I go, "No." And he like, look, there's like a big laundry room outside of the family room area. He's like, "In the toilet?" And I'm like, "Yep." "Okay." And he left. "Let me know if you need anything." All right. That was really sweet of him. But no, I, man, if you have migraines out there, I sympathize with you. And I think people that don't have them, if you say like, "I'm having a migraine," they're just like, "He's having a headache." Well, no, man, they just don't know. My buddy Peter, he told me one time, he goes, "I've never had a headache in my whole life." He said those words to me. I'm like, "What?" He's like, "I don't know what it feels like. I've never had a headache before." How's that possible? He's like, "I don't know, man. I get stomach aches a lot." And I said, I would trade a stomach ache for a migraine 99 times out of 100, maybe 100 times out of 100, depending on the severity of it. I'll tell you one thing I wouldn't trade for him. I'd rather have 1,000 migraines, which I've easily had 1,000 in my life, probably more than that. Guaranteed, tens of thousands, maybe. Hell, I don't know. But I would not trade a kidney stone for. I've had two of those, two. That is the worst pain. I've had two kidney stones in, well, I think it was like 2019, 2018 and 2019, maybe 2019 and 2020, something like that. Yeah, 1 year apart. And I've just literally drank so much water since then to flush my system out. I don't know what it was. I think I was eating way too much like dairy-based food. Like there's a buildup of calcium in my body. I had way too much mayonnaise-based food, chicken salad, cottage cheese, a lot of milk. Way like overdoing the protein and shit. And that kidney stone hits, dude. You cannot even. It's pain like you don't know. You feel like you've been shot, and the bullet is on fire inside of you, burning a hole through your soul. It hurts so bad, and it's relentless. It doesn't ease up. And the only thing I remember was like, got a ride to the hospital, and I'm nauseous and I'm gonna puke. It hurts so bad. No, and you're writhing in pain. I was screaming, and then and the nurse is like mean to me. And then, anyways, you get back into the little area where they put you in a room, and she gave me morphine. I was like, "You're an angel from heaven." I remember telling her that. She didn't even laugh. But that took it away right immediately, right? And I was like, Oh my God. It was like instant relief. And then you're just in a puddle of sadness. But like, it was so nice. Oh my God. That was the only thing that took the pain away. Because I think I had eaten like a couple Percocets. And I told her that. I was like, you didn't even morphine. Like, I've had a couple Percocets. She's like, it'll be fine. I'm like, okay. You sure? Yeah. Bam. She hit me with that. And like, went as hard as she could, dude, with the thing. And it burns when you, if you've ever had morphine go into a, what do they call that, IV? It burns. I don't know why, but it does. At the inoculation point. Words. And she gave me 2 vials. Bam, bam. And jammed them in there. And I'm like, what is with this place? What is going on? They were mean. They were so mean. Did they think I was like drugged out and like begging for, you know, like I'm sure they get that a lot in there, but like, no, man, I'm not acting. Like this is really like I was squirming around in the bed there. How did we get on? I was talking about migraines. What? But they took me back to the x-ray for the kidney stone, and then the doctor came in and he's like, you got one, you got a kidney stone. And then they treated me nice. I'm like, oh, poor baby. You know, like then the nurses were like those nurses that you know them to be and nurturing and shit. And I'm like, okay, I wasn't faking it. So, but anyways, the migraines have been with me forever. And I got one the other day and it wasn't that bad. And I really do think I've grown out of the prevalency of them and also kind of the severity too. And thank God, you know, like, again, it's been my cross to bear in life. I've had them forever. And one time, oh man, how did I just think of this? So in high school, I was on the crazy medication then. They felt like I was old enough to, they're like, okay, we're gonna give you this shit. Oh my God, what was it called? Trexamet, maybe, or it wasn't Imitrex, it was Trexamet. And that made me feel nuts. And the Vicodin. So I got it, and I think I was either a freshman or a sophomore. I was on student council, and that plays into the story because they had this room in the back of my high school. And it was like kind of like a little side room to where it was the student council room. I don't know why they had that. But if you were on, and I think I was on my freshman and my senior. It was either sophomore and junior year I was on student council or freshman and senior. It was 2 of the years. I don't remember what it was. I was young though. I'm pretty sure I was a freshman. And I went, and you could go, if you were on student council, you'd go in there and they had like a couch in there, an air conditioning unit, and these desks set up and a computer and shit. So you could go in there and study or like meet with your other officers. I have no idea, but they let us go in there whenever we wanted to, if you had like study hall or free time or whatever, and shut the door. Now I can say with almost certainty that that's not allowed anymore. Back then you could do it. And so I went in there and just laid down. Oh, no. So I get in there and there was this girl in there. Her name was Amanda, and she was a senior, and she was a cheerleader, and she was super hot and way cool. And I'm just a lowly freshman, and she knew, well, because I was on student council. She's like, hey, Paul. And I rarely ever talked to her or whatever. And I'm like sort of loopy at that point. I'm like, I got a migraine. I was just going to lay down. She's like really concerned. And she's like, was super sweet about it. And she's like, oh something about one of her family members got them or whatever. And I was telling her about it, and like progressively got like stupider. And I was like, I'm on this like weird medication. So if I say something weird, just ignore me. And I was like, I'm feeling kind of loopy. And she's like, oh, and she goes, come here. And she said, put your head on my lap. Okay. So she gets up and shuts the door. Okay. And so there's the couch there. Set my head on her lap, and she does the this thing here, like that. 30 seconds, I'm asleep. Out. I don't know how long she rubbed my temples, but she was another angel from heaven who didn't have morphine, but she had the healing touch, dude. And she was super hot and had a skirt on, and I drooled out of my mouth on her leg. Not good. But I woke up and I don't know, the bell rang or something, woke me up, and she, kind of was like, okay, I gotta go or something. And I was like, thank you so much. Like, oh man, she's like, is it better? And I lied. I'm like, oh yeah, 100%. But it was ripping the top of my head off. But I was like, it's really good. I appreciate you. And I looked down and there was drool in her leg. And I said, oh, I'm sorry. And she rubbed it in and said, no big deal. And hot. Rubbed it in, got up, no big deal. I'm like, what's happening? Am I dreaming this? And so she gets up, and I hardly ever, we exchanged words after that or whatever. She was so nice about everything. She was cool. And she grew up to be a porn star. I don't know if she still is or not, but she was. Can't think of her last name. But that was pretty cool. Yeah. So there you have it. So it's just kind of like you're almost just like hungover the next day, but not like in the sense of you think a hungover would be. You're almost just kind of like dulled out. And the weather changes so frequently around here, especially this time of year. It'll be 65 degrees one day and 30 the next day. And that always messes with me when the seasons change, Usually like in the dead of summer or the dead of winter, I'm good. Like, I won't have them very often. But yeah, when I do, and I don't do the migraine medication anymore. And they tried to give me like preventative medication once. And that like made me so tired I couldn't even get out of bed. I don't know what it was. Maybe if I'd have stuck with it, it would have helped, but I didn't like those side effects, man. They're crazy. So now I'll just like have like painkillers that I'll take and anti-inflammatory stuff. I don't do migraine medication. There could be something new that I have that I don't know about. Maybe I should look into that. But again, the frequency of them has really kind of diminished over the years. Thank God. So yeah, if you have them out there, I pity you. And don't lay down. That's it. Don't lay down. Maybe it would be different for you. Again, like some people drink Coke and it helps their migraines. Like that doesn't compute to me, but stay propped up, man. Stay propped up. Drive. Well, if you have the vision, don't drive, but like just drive in a car when your head hurts. Sit in a desk, sit and watch Netflix, play a video game. Of course, that's kind of an assault on your senses or whatever. Try not to do that because that makes I'm like my eyes are darting everywhere. It kind of makes it hurt, but so yeah, in the last, this is going to be episode 9, and I know last episode was 8, but I didn't do a 7, but I did do a 7. Spoiler alert. I did an episode 7, and I'm going to upload it soon because guess what, dude? It was lost. It's going to be the lost episode of The Wolf of Wall Street, but it's been found. It was in channels between. It was in the lands between, dude. And I had like 2-3 computers, and it was in there somewhere. I didn't know where it was. I sound like such a boomer right now. I lost the file. I don't know, but I ran across it. I edited it, and it's ready. It's ready, man. But the point is, in that episode, I talk about my war against Kroger. It's ongoing. They must be stopped. No. I have this stupid feud with them. I don't like the place. Sucks. So I've kind of stopped going there. I go to Meijer, which is in the area too, and it's way nicer. And it may be a little bit more expensive, but it's worth it for your mental sanity. So like, I'll go if I don't like have the groceries delivered, I'll go to Meijer. I'll try everything in my power not to go to Kroger. And it sucks because Kroger is literally, I can hit a golf ball to Kroger. It's how close it is. And I talk about going to Kroger, finding a certain time that I hypothesized would be the best time to go there when it's not slammed busy and full of heathens and torturous and just miserable. And I found it. So we'll listen to that episode if you want to hear when I went, because it's a very specific time and it works. It's not for everybody. It may not be for anybody. But I digress. I went there recently, and it was supposed to just be a little run and gun. You get in, you get out. You buy a few things that are on the essential list, and you leave. And that's what I did. I got milk. I got a gallon of milk. I got some eggs. I got some bacon. A few other like miscellaneous things. And small order, so you go to the self-checkout. I only go to the self-checkout because the lines are always back into the aisles. Either that or they have like one lane open. And that's backed up because it's the only one open. And but here's the deal. So one side of the store, you have like, the self-checkouts are multiplying, by the way. If you haven't noticed, that's all that it's going to be sooner or later. They're not even going to have any lanes. So it's going to be all self-checkout. They even have like, and my mom's like, oh, I prefer this. They have like the conveyor belt and everything self-checkout. Which, I mean, if they don't have someone bagging, you're sending all your shit down there on the belt, and then it's just piling up at the end for you to be like, okay, I'm gonna walk down there and bag it all up. But yet when you leave the scanning section, does the next person waiting on the self-checkout conveyor belt lane just supposed to come and start? No, because then you know they're sending their shit down to mix with yours, so they have to wait for you to bag it. So there still has to be a bagger. It's dumb. So anyways, the regular self-checkouts was just the bags there next to the little thing. So they have like two areas set up on the main, like the produce side, grocery side of the store. But on the other side, the pharmacy side of the store, then like the home area side of the store, the self-checkout, that they have one area of self-checkout. So there's like 6 or 8 kiosk areas. All they have is a turnstile for bags. So, you know, your large items, like if you have a case of Ice Mountain water, or if you have a big thing of paper towels, or if you have a gallon of milk, which I did have, there's nowhere to put it. Unless you just put it in a bag. There's like 4 or 5 bags on the turnstile. But there's nowhere to put like your big items. So on the other side, they have like a big shelf above the bags to put your stuff, right? So I got to the self-checkout with my few small items and rang them all in there. And halfway through, I had the gallon of milk, but I didn't have any bags to where I wanted to. I don't put my gallon in bag or whatever. So I put it on the turnstile in front of the bag. So it's not like in a very safe area. And I like turned it around, you know, and so now the milk's in the back on the turnstile. And so like I finished with all the rest of my stuff, and I'm like, I gotta get out of here. And I was, to be fair, I was racing. I'm like, just get me out of here. I'm having anxiety. And finished, paid, receipt, and got the 2 bags that I were in the front and spun that thing around, not thinking about the gallon of milk being in the back. And buddy, that thing spun around and the milk flew off the thing. Flew right off. Flew right off. And I watched it. It was like slow motion. And I'm like, that's bad. And those things are not high off the floor at all. It's maybe a 1.5 foot drop. But you got to remember, it was also coming with quick. It had some pepper behind it, and when it hit, it detonated, dude. I've never seen anything like it. I remember the kiosks are here and the doors to leave are over there. When I walked out, there was milk splatter marks by the door. That's how this thing absolutely exploded. And I watched it in horror. And I was so mad that I wasn't embarrassed at all. I didn't give a shit. There was a ton of people around. I was just like, I didn't even want to crawl into a hole and die at all. I was just like, fuck it. I don't even care. I don't. I don't know if it got on anybody. Nobody said anything. But this thing went off like a bomb. And it had a huge split in the side of it. And after the initial, like, boom, milk was just out the side. And the woman, because they always have like a attendant or whatever there. This lady acted like it was biohazard material. She runs over and she's like, put it in a bag, 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 and said it that rapidly over and over again, and not even giving me a chance to like, there were no bags available because they were all full of my stuff. So once I got one open, and she never stopped saying, put it in a bag. That's how annoying this lady was. Talking to me like I'm challenged. And so like, I got it and put it in the bag, and I looked at her and I said, I heard you the first time. And she didn't say anything. And I said, am I able to go back and get another one? And she goes, yes. And I was like, all right, cool. So I went and took everything else out to my hand. On the way out to my car, I'm like, I gotta at least apologize, you know, that it sucks for her. She's immediately on like we gotta clean up on kiosk, self-checkout, pharmacy. You know, she's like trying to get somebody up there immediately. She's freaking out. And I leave. I beat it out of there. Go to my car, dump all of my groceries out, and grab my receipt. I'm like, I'm going back for it. I need this milk. And I went in, and I just went immediately and got another gallon and walked back up there. And I said, I found her. I was like, hey, it's me. I just did this, you know. I was like, here's my receipt. I just grabbed another gallon. And I was like, and of course she's like, it's fine. You know, she's like interrupting me. I was like, I just want to say, like, I'm very sorry. It was a total accident. And then she's like, it's whatever. I had to shut down the whole area. And there was like, you know, she put up like the little caution tape things. Not caution tape, but there's like, she like kind of cordoned it off and all this shit. And, I had to shut the whole area down, and somebody's going to have to come up here and clean it up. And I'm like, yeah, that sucks. Thank you. And left. Fuck yeah. I almost was like, you know what, Kroger? It's what you get, dude. Yeah, I was embarrassed a little, and it was inconvenient. I had to go back in, but guess what? Milk bomb. I can't believe that happened. Like looking back on that. Oh my God. Yeah. So yeah. I don't know how some of these shows that are on like Netflix, Hulu, actually like get greenlit to be made because they're so terrible. But I want to know, because some of them are just incredible, but others they're almost like junk food. Guilty pleasure, I think, is what I would call it. Like, what are your guilty pleasure shows? I'd love to know that. The ones where you're watching it and thinking, if anyone else knew that I watched this, I would be embarrassed. But I really like it, and it's good. And I'm gonna admit one of those shows to you today that I watch, and it's ridiculous. It's on Netflix, and the show is called Riverdale. And I watched that show. And that show is for high school girls, probably. But I'll tell you what, it's good. I said it. The show's good. The show's overly dramatic. It's 100% not for middle-aged men. It is not for men of any age, really, I don't think. It's a good show. It's got hot girls in it. It's got good writing. The acting is good. It's your typical Netflix, well-polished storyline. But by no means should I be watching this program. And when I'm laying in bed at night and I'm watching it, I'm laughing. But then I really get into it. And I'm like, oh no, what is Archie going to do? And so if you don't know, it's like the old comic Archie is based on that. If you're old like me, you remember him being in the paper when you were young. And that's what they were. It's just like basically the names and appearances. They stay loyal to that. Of like the comic book characters or the comic strip characters, Archie, Veronica, Betty, Jughead. So all those people are in the show, and they look similar to like what they looked like in the comic strip, but it's, not for kids at all. Like I'm sure kids probably watch this show. They shouldn't be. There's lots of adult tones in it, sex, violence, adult material. I don't know, content or whatever. But it's just there's lots of shows like that, to where it's like I wouldn't want anyone to know I'm watching this really, but it's good and whatever. But it's like a soap opera. It's like a soap opera for kids. I think about like watching anime, and a lot of the time I feel that way. My friend, I never watched that stuff, and that's another huge guilty pleasure for me. And it's like I'm not even ashamed to talk about that because it's so good. And I think that people that don't realize how incredibly entertaining it is, I would say don't knock it until you try it, because I was in that boat too. I was like, I'll never watch this. This cartoons. I grew up with cartoons, loved cartoons. Forgot how much I loved cartoons, and being reintroduced to animated shows like that made me, it almost like reignited my love for it and put me in touch with the kid inside of me again, because I'm watching it. I remember how I felt when I was younger. Seriously. And these blow all those cartoons out of light. Even the 80s cartoons, which in my mind are the best. You had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you had G.I. Joe, you had the DuckTales shits, you had all that, right? And all the Nickelodeon shows too, which were like tailored towards kids and shit. That was the golden age, I think, of Looney Tunes, and I mean everything was high tier. But this anime shit, my buddy came up to me, this has been a number of years ago. We were like out drinking, playing darts or something, and a lot of the guys there were talking about like the shows that they watch, and I'm like, what the fuck? What are you guys talking about? And my buddy goes, you don't watch anime? And I was like, no. He goes, oh, dude, you got to. Why not? You would absolutely love it. And I'm like, how do you know that? And he was like, just here, try that. And I forget what show it was. I don't remember. I really don't. But I did, and I was like, I mean, I was absolutely stunned at the writing. I've watched a series, and they're all real short, like episodes of 25 minutes, 25-minute episode, and then it could be 20 in a season or whatever, and sometimes even less than that. So you really rip through them pretty quickly, but the writing is so good. I've cried real man tears at anime. Admit it. It's emotional as shit, some of them. And graphic violence. I mean, like some of the most visceral shit you've ever seen. It's not for kids at all. A lot of them are. I mean, there's 1,000 different subgenres, inside of it. But if you like that kind of shit at all, if you're a nerd or whatever and you're not watching it, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you could find something and they have a gajillion different types that you would enjoy. I guarantee it. Sci-fi, fantasy, hardcore action. Like a lot of it's depressing, a lot of it's amazing, like a sight to behold. Um, and that's another. I mean, I would still say that was probably be a guilty pleasure of mine. Uh, but the prevalence and the popularity of it now, I think, are even. I mean, it's almost like commonplace now to be like, "Hey, did you see Demon Slayer?" Or whatever. Like some of the more popular ones, but like 5-6 years ago when I started watching it, it wasn't as prevalent as it is now. It wasn't as popular as it is now. Now it's like a whole nother thing. It's like super, super it's come to the West more than ever. And um oh yeah. The amount of anime I've watched since because I haven't watched it for very long, but the amount that I've consumed since my buddy said like, hey, you should try this, I should check this out, uh is a lot. And I'm well versed. I can hold a conversation about most of them. I've seen quite a bit. But yeah, like back to Riverdale, Veronica, woo! She is something else, right? It's just the characters are well portrayed, the actresses are great, and I recommend it if you just want something to. It's like I said, it's just junk food. That's all it is, just junk food. You sit there and fall asleep or watch it and just be like, this is ridiculous. Teenage soap opera. That's it. That's it. Another episode in the books. And I did want to say this. I was wrong. Last episode, I said I think Hogwarts Legacy, the video game, is going to sell 10 million copies. And when I said that, I meant like all told, like in its entirety, like 5 years from now, we'll look back like Hogwarts Legacy sold 10 million copies. Well, I was wrong. I was wrong about that. I was already wrong. Do you know why I know that? Because it sold 12 million copies in 2 weeks. That's pretty good. That's actually crazy. That's a huge success story. Ridiculous, right? So let's say the game cost $150 million to make it. Well, the game's $70 to buy it. So 12 million times 70. Do that math. It's pretty good. You could live off that money. That money for a while, probably. Well, we'll see. Maybe it'll sell 20 million copies in its life. So, thank you guys. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next time.